Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the August Power and Partnership Breakfast of the Paducah Chamber, sponsored by Mercy Health Lourdes. We're so appreciative of the continued support you've shown to us. We're broadcasting live in the Commerce Center in the Paducah Bank Community Room, and we appreciate WPSD for also live streaming this for us. The events of 2020 have certainly had our chamber staff evaluating our own mission. Our mission is to enhance business growth through promotion, advocacy, and education. And during this time of COVID-19, we have never stopped working for you. That is still our priority, and our mission to serve you remains steadfast. We're looking forward to many events in 2020 that will be happening in the next few months, and we know they're going to continue to be brought to you in a different way. But please know that we're there for you and we're working hard for you every day. We are just completing one of our favorite programs, and that's Leadership Paducah. Leadership Paducah Class 33 has just completed their program, and we're getting ready to announce Class 34. Leadership Paducah was started in the early 1980s as a leadership development program for people in our community, and we're so glad to have the tradition of that program through the years that it has developed. Leadership Paducah 33, Class 33, will forever be known as the COVID-19 class. When we met for the last time in March, we never expected that the next time we met would be via Zoom call and live would be in July. But we have finished that class, and we're so fortunate to have them now ready to finish up with their class project. We had some of the hardest workers and the strongest leaders in a generous community that was willing to help them to complete their class project. That's a big part of Leadership Paducah, is giving back to the community. And last fall, they chose Starfish Orphan Ministry as their group project. And that was to put every child in Paducah and McCracken County that needed a bed in their own bed. And thank you so much for everything that has been done to make that happen. You're going to be blown away in just a few minutes. So we are going to turn the program over now to Leadership Paducah Class 33. We just couldn't wait any longer for them to announce their total and what they have done through this class project. We are hoping to have a graduation just a little bit later. But here's Class 33 making their announcement to Starfish Orphan Ministry about the total amount raised. Class member Brent Hausman is going to be speaking on their behalf. Several of them are here with us today, and Sierra Sauer, who has been the class treasurer and made so many trips to the bank to take care of all the finances, is with him to unveil the big check. So thank you for joining us, and now let's turn it over to Brent Hausman and Class 33.
Good morning. Thanks for being here with us, and thank all of you for being here. We're kind of packed in here like a Dutch oven, I think, this morning. So thank you all. This is just a representation of some of our class members. So some, of course, couldn't be with us this morning, but thank you all for being here. Laura, thank you for being here today. What a big day. What a big day. Joe, I don't know if we've got drum rolls around here or we'll have to stomp our feet or make our own, but before we unveil the big check, we just got to, make her wait just a little bit longer. I want to recognize our sponsors. We had King sponsors. Of course, we chose the bed project. So our sponsors are in bed levels or bed sizes. So our King sponsors this year are the Carson Meyer Charitable Foundation, Relevant Church. Pastor Joel was in our class this year and a pleasant surprise for our class. So a little bit of entertainment along there with it, but his church and many of his members stepped up huge to be part of this project. So thank you all very much. Our Queen sponsors, Baptist Health. Of course, Laura is in our class. Beltline Electric, Heartland Church, Jim Smith Contracting, John and Vivian Williams, and Swift and Staley. So those are our King and our Queen sponsors. Just for the sake of time, we won't list them all, but we had 6 full sponsors and then over 20 bunk bed sponsors. All in all, Laura, over 200 sponsors for this year's event. So we were very, very pleased. We appreciate the media sponsors that we had, WPSD, the newspaper, the radio did stories for us. View Magazine did things for us. So many generous supporters. And we'll see that total here in just a second. To our class members, I think we just got nicknamed the COVID class, according to Sandra. We may re-nickname ourselves or call ourselves a little something different. I'm not sure about if we want to be forever known as the COVID class, but we overcame so many obstacles. Who knew that in February or March would be our last meeting together? But yet to still be able to pull off what we did. Some of you guys know approximately where we were. I will tell you that we not only met our goal, but we exceeded our goal. So thank you all. Thank you all for all of your hard work, for the many phone calls you made, visits you made. And I think, Sandra, this was a lesson in life not to procrastinate, because you never know what's going to happen. So in case you didn't know, the chamber annual meeting was January 31st. No, of this year, not like it seems like 5 years ago, but that was this year. We were told we could not raise any money. We could not do anything until after January the 31st. And of course, COVID hit first week of March and basically shut us down. So 5 weeks, we pulled off something pretty major. And so it's been an honor to be in class with you guys. I guess this is our last official gathering, whatever. So we don't even want to think about that. Maybe we'll have graduation, and Tommy, I think you're going to host everybody sometime after that. So it's been an awesome time together. I've enjoyed getting to know each and every one of you guys and working with you guys. We've had a lot to happen. We've had somebody get married. We've had job changes. We're going to have a baby here, and I don't know, maybe today, maybe next week, not right now. But anyway, without further ado, we have all three of our members here from our accounting team. So let's open it up.
All right, here we go, the big reveal.
Holy cow. $112,751. Had to uncover one of the most important parts, the leadership class 33. So I think if you can raise $112,000 during a COVID crisis, I think you're the best class ever. So would you like to share?
Well, I was going to speak, but it's hard right now because that total shocked me. I was not expecting that. So I'm a little taken back. I'm sorry. When I started presenting to this class back almost a year ago, I started by saying that there's an old story about a man that's walking down the beach after a really bad storm the night before, and he's walking down the beach and he sees all these starfish that are washed up on the shore, and they're dying because they can't get back in the ocean. And he sees something in the distance and wonders what it is. And when he gets up close, he realizes it's a child, and the child is doing something repetitive. So when he gets real close, he asks the child, he said, "What are you doing?" And the child says, "Well, I'm throwing these starfish back in the ocean so that they don't die." And the old man looked around and he said, "But look how many there are. You can't possibly make a difference." And the child picks up another one and holds it in his hand, and he throws it back in the ocean. And he looked at the old man and he said, "I made a difference for that one." And this class and the donors that supported this class have made a difference for over 1,000 children that did not have a bed to sleep in our area. And that is incredible in itself. But then to do it during this quarantine, this crisis, I mean, it is just crazy that this amount of money was raised. I did not realize that it was going to be nearly that. And I'm just so thankful for the beds for children that this amount represents. I just don't even know how to say thank you enough. There's so many children in our area that don't have a bed, and a bed is such an important thing. And because of this class and because of the people that supported them and the businesses that supported them, there are so many children that are going to have a bed to sleep in. And when I just hope that when all of the class members here go to bed tonight, they'll think about the fact that there's going to be children that are going to bed in a real bed and their own bed by themselves. And they'll think about those children. But thank you so much.
Again, just real quick, thank you, Carson Meyer Charitable Foundation. Thank you, Relevant Church and Pastor Joel, Baptist Health, Beltline, Heartland Church, Jim Smith Contracting, John and Vivian Williams, and Swift and Staley. Thank you all, classmates, for the hard work that you have done. And thank you, Sandra, for the opportunity to let us do that.
I'm just going to ask Brother Joel, would you want to say a blessing over this? I just realized I'm not on mic, but I'm just going to ask Brother Joel Colley with Relevant Church if he would just ask a blessing over these beds that all these children will be having. So
let's pray. Father God, we love you. Lord, this is the day that you have made, and we truly will rejoice this amazing occasion. And I thank you for all these incredible people behind me, people that are watching, those that have served, that have sacrificed, even in the middle of this pandemic. We still stayed focused. We stayed the course. And I thank you, Lord, for even what your word says, that for God so loved the world that he gave. And when we give, that's when we become most like you. And Lord, this is proof that we are literally being the hands and the feet of Jesus. And I thank you for this opportunity that we have to serve the city that we love, that you've called us to, that you've called us to help make better. And I pray, Lord, that every single child, Lord, when they lay their head on their brand new bed and pillow, that it would be a reminder of their love for you. And I pray that every single time that we remember this occasion, that, Lord, we would know that the greatest reward and blessing is for us. And I thank you for this opportunity. I pray a special blessing over Starfish, that you would continue their efforts, give them favor, give them provision. And I pray, Lord, that you would give them provision that matches their vision that they have, that they want to continue to reach this city. And I pray for businesses that are a part of this chamber, that you would continue to bless them, give them favor, as so that we can keep pouring out and giving back to this city and making it the best city that we possibly can. And I ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
thank you, Leadership Paducah Class 33. This is an emotional time when we all kind of say bon voyage for a little while. We haven't gotten to have your official graduation, but we will have that at some point in some fashion. So thank you. Thank you, Laura Roberts. It's been an honor to meet you and to work with you this year as we all get emotional. But anyway, thank you so much for everything that you do for our community. And we're just blessed to have been a part of that this year. And great job, Class 33. About a third, half of the class is here today, and the others are watching via Zoom and on Facebook. So thanks to those of you who are watching today and couldn't be here in person. It's been a great year with you. So I'm just going to say we had an amazing number of applicants for Class 34. I just sent them an email yesterday telling them that who had been accepted. So we're kicking off with the next one now. So thank you to Class 33. I think you should also thank Leadership Paducah Alumni Association. They did waive the part that usually the class does give a small percentage of what they've raised to them so that they can continue their work with scholarships and sponsorships for Leadership Paducah alums. They provide a lot of scholarships so people can continue their education, but they waived that this year so that all of it would go to Starfish Orphan Ministry. And we want to say thank you to Leadership Paducah Alumni Association as well. So thank you all. We really appreciate everything. It's been a great year. It's been great working with you. And we can't wait to see you again in the future and stay involved with us. So thank you. All right, I'm going to continue on with the rest of the chamber news for today. So congratulations, $112,751. That's an amazing, amazing total. I just want to show some of the slides. Normally we would be having a formal graduation ceremony and I would be reading all of their names and they would be coming up here. But you'll see on the screen members of this class. There were 36 people representing both small and large businesses, ranging in age from the 20s all the way up. Maybe I'm not even going to say how far up that they went. But again, we owe them a debt of gratitude for what they've accomplished for our community. It wouldn't be a chamber event if we didn't have a few announcements. And so, of course, we're going to do that now. And we have continued to bring in new members during COVID-19, and we're so thankful for that. We're working on all of our renewals with our current membership, but I do want to highlight these new members that have stepped up and joined the chamber during COVID-19, and that's Advanced Development Insights, LLC. That's a consulting firm that we'll be working with the next class of Leadership Paducah. Freedom Forever Ministries, OmniPath, Papillion Center for FASD, the Surgical Group of Paducah, and West Kentucky Promotions. So thank you. I would be asking for a round of applause. So if you would just give them that on your own as our new members. I also need to just mention Leadership Paducah Class 32. The class that graduated in 2019. They completed their program then, and their class project was to build a home for a family through the Habitat for Humanity. And we were able to just recently celebrate that with that family and Habitat for Humanity. It was a house dedication for house number 72, and that was held since our last breakfast, and some of the class members were there, and they funded that house. So a new family has a home now. They raised more than $90,000. They did provide some of their funds to the Leadership Paducah Alumni Association, but even then, they have enough money to carry over into house number 73 with Habitat for Humanity. And I know that they are taking applications now for the next family that will live in house number 73. So you can find out more information about that with Habitat for Humanity. We do have an upcoming ribbon cutting for a new business that's opening. And if you are traveling on Highway 60 out by McCracken County High School, you will have seen this under construction. It's the Commonwealth Event Center, 5955 Highway 60 West. So there's a lot of interest in seeing inside of it, and you can do that tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. We'll be cutting the ribbon at 5 o'clock. Next Tuesday, we have a business education partnership program, and we have been holding on that because we had hoped we would be able to have it in person. We are going to go ahead and do it as a virtual event with our BEP Tuesday, August 11th at noon. It's sponsored by the Murray State University Paducah campus. Our guest speaker is going to join us from Louisville. She is Mary Gwen Wheeler, the executive director of a program called 55,000 Degrees. That program was started in Louisville to try to raise the number of people in their community with some type of college degree, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's and up, just to raise that level because they felt like their community would be more competitive if more people had those degrees. So we're going to hear about what they did, how they achieved their goals, what have they learned along the way, and all of their next steps. The pre-registration is required for this Zoom event at paducahchamber.org for registration details. The Paducah Young Professionals, they're teaming up with the American Red Cross to host a much-needed blood drive on Wednesday, August 12th, and the event will be held here in the Paducah Bank Community Room at the Commerce Center. Schedule your appointment at redcrossblood.org using the sponsor code PCOC. I think that stands for Paducah Chamber of Commerce. So there you go. Next, on August 20th, we're kicking off our small business celebration. It's usually held in May, but we didn't get to have it in May, so we're having it now. We're kicking it off on the 20th, and we have landed one of the best speakers that we could possibly get. And you'll hear more about that in just a minute. But during that breakfast, we're going to draw names of some small businesses that we want to recognize. So please send us information to info@paducahchamber.org or go on our website to send us your information. One business will also get the use of a digital billboard on Lone Oak Road, courtesy of Hibbs Insurance. So visit paducahchamber.org or send us that information. All of the instructions are on there. The next thing that we normally would be talking about at our August breakfast is our DC fly-in, because we traditionally go the second week of September. And we've been holding off on making that announcement, whether or not we could go. Honestly, we just didn't want to call it that we couldn't go, but now we know that we just really can't. So we're making a lot of adjustments as we go. And because it's so important to our community and to our own program of work here at the Paducah Chamber, we know we have to do something. We have to have our meetings with the Department of Energy and the Department of Transportation and our members of Congress, because it's so important and it's such a close relationship for our community with them. So we won't be going in person in DC in September as a group. However, we are having a two-part DC event. Later in August, we will be having some of our small group meetings with members of Congress and their staff to brief them on our federal priorities for 2020. In October, we're going to have an event in Paducah. So we're now calling it our DC Flyback, and we will be meeting with those agencies then, having our group together here in Paducah. So stay tuned. We're still working out all of the details. It takes as many calls to change it as it does to schedule it, and it takes a lot of work to make that happen, but we know it's worth it. So we're so excited that we will get to have our DC event. It will just look different. At this point, now I'm going to introduce the chairman of the board of the Paducah Chamber and owner and president of I-5 Design, Mr. Chad Byer.
Thank you, Sandra. Welcome, everyone, and thanks again for joining us. I bring you greetings from the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. First, I want to say and congratulate Class 33. I'm amazed by what they've accomplished. I was lucky enough to be a part of Class 19. Which also was at the end of a crisis, Hurricane Katrina. We hope we're at the end of this crisis. I'm amazed at what they've accomplished. I'm amazed at what that group of people continues to do for our community. I encourage Class 34. I'm excited for them and to see what they do. So I think you've probably heard me say many times before that small business makes up the majority of our chamber membership. And traditionally, we have a small business celebration in May. However, this past May, we were pretty much on lockdown and just beginning to open our economy back up. So we decided at that time to postpone our celebration, but now we're ready, we're excited, and we're gonna have it in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from today, on August 20th, we're thrilled to have from the Small Business Administration, the regional administrator from Region 7 as our featured speaker at another virtual breakfast. Ashley Bell has a very interesting background and job responsibilities. He serves 9 districts located in the 8 southeastern states. He also serves as an entrepreneurship policy advisor for the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Counselor. He's also an entrepreneur. I like that. He's doing it. I think that's great. I'm excited to hear from him. In addition to hearing his comments, we'll also recognize our small business members that day and draw names for videos to be created of several businesses to show on social media and at our September breakfast. We'll also draw a winner for the use of an electronic billboard sponsored by Hibbs Insurance, and Swift & Staley is the sponsor for our small business celebration. So we want you to watch your email for more information. On August 27th, we're kicking off, also on August 27th, we're also kicking off our 2020 membership and total resource campaign led by Dr. Anton Reese, the incoming chair of the Chamber Board. So if you haven't participated in the small business celebration, and there's a lot of opportunity there for small businesses. I own a small business and I've participated. I've gotten a lot from that. I've learned a lot from that. I've made contacts there that have been beneficial. So if you're part of a small business, if you own a small business, watch for that and make sure to participate. There's a lot of great information offered there, and we really want your presence to be seen and want you to have the opportunity to learn from it. So the incoming board chair, Dr. Anton Reese, is going to lead the total resource campaign. We want you to know too, this is very important to our chamber. So as we seek to give new companies an opportunity to be a member of the chamber and to renew current membership, This is really important this year. With the COVID issues that we've had this year, this is going to be a big deal. We really want to reach out and get more people to be members. The more we can serve, the greater opportunity each business has to be a part and to grow. And so we're really passionate about that. I know Dr. Reese is excited. He's got some big plans, and so we really want to support him. So be sure to be a part of that. So it's also now my pleasure, I'm probably a little early, but it's my pleasure to introduce our sponsor for this month's breakfast, Mercy Health Lourdes. Speaking today is Mike Youngman, president of Mercy Health, Kentucky region. Mike.
Good morning. Mercy Health Lourdes Hospital is proud to once again sponsor this August chamber breakfast. But I do look forward to next year when I'm confident that we will be able to meet in person. And thank you to the chamber for finding a way to ensure that this year's event could still take place. Just as the annual breakfast is different this year, at Mercy Health Lourdes Hospital, we too have had to innovate during this very unusual time. We've responded to the pandemic by caring for those who affected, while simultaneously examining and, as needed, altering every aspect of our business so that we could resume services quickly and safely. Thank you for your support during these times, and I'm happy to report that we're open for business for all procedures and services, and you will find a lot of changes in terms, if you do happen to come to the hospital, in terms of just to the extent of the precautions that we have taken. The lessons we have learned have not only informed our current operations, but may have fundamentally changed how we will conduct business in the future as well. We had virtual care options prior to the pandemic, but the expansion, growth, and use of those options greatly increased during these last few months. And we believe that the utilization of virtual options is something that will continue as patients adopt these new methods and recognize their many advantages. While we stand up our virtual options, we simultaneously have been expanding our in-person options as well. We continue to grow the area's largest provider network by adding specialists and primary care physicians to our medical group. Our most recent opening is that of a new Mercy Health Reedland Family Medicine Center. Dr. Marisa Stewart James, Dr. Terry Telly, and nurse practitioners Carrie Wildharber and PJ Hale are the featured providers at the new facility. The newly expanded center will allow us to not only enhance our current services, but will provide the space and modern facilities for future growth. We also will be opening a new clinic August 17th that will be located inside the new J&R Pharmacy facility in Benton, featuring 2 new providers joining us soon in this new venture. As we continue adding the regions to the region's largest physician network, we've seen growth particularly of our cardiology services. Having recruited several new heart specialists during the past year, 2 of whom I am pleased to have with me today. I would like to introduce here for just a moment Dr. Thomas Salvucci and also Dr. Abdel Almanfi. And I'd like for each both to take just a moment to say a few words about who they are and what their specialties are. So starting with Dr. Salvucci.
Mr. Youngman, thank you so much. It's a great pleasure for me to be back in the Paducah area. I was in this area from 2012 to 2018. I was a cardiologist down at Jackson Purchase Medical Center in Mayfield. And I feel honored to be back and to join the Mercy Health team. Great team of cardiologists. You'll meet another new one coming up here shortly. We believe our team will be able to provide excellent cardiovascular care to the residents of the Paducah area. My background is that I'm from the Philadelphia area, trained in Philadelphia, worked in New Jersey, and ultimately in 2012 came to Mayfield. Was gone for 2 years in Florida, but happy to be back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Salvucci. And now Dr. Abdel Almanfi.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Sandra, for inviting me here today. I'm Dr. Almanfi. I'm board-certified interventional cardiologist, and I specialize in structural heart. I was recruited by Mercy Health to start a new program here, in Paducah area that's involved structural heart. Basically, it's a minimally invasive procedures to replace heart valves and fix heart defects without surgery. And this program is new at Mercy Health, and hopefully we can save patients from traveling out of town to bigger cities like Nashville or St. Louis by localizing care here in the area. And I have a great team I'm working with now, including Dr. Salvucci and other physicians in the hospital. So thank you again, and I appreciate that opportunity. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Doctor. And thank you both, Dr. Salvucci and Dr. Almanfi, for your expertise and for further enhancing the world-class heart program we have right here in Western Kentucky. Thank you again to the Chamber for this opportunity to address you this morning. Please remain safe by keeping your distance, wearing your mask, and next year, let's do this again in person. Now, while I regret we are meeting via Zoom, it does provide me an opportunity. It does provide us as a chamber an opportunity to host speakers that may not have been available to travel here. I would like to welcome to our breakfast today, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Jacqueline Coleman, as our featured speaker. She serves as the Secretary of the Kentucky Education and Workforce Development Cabinet, and during her time in office is focusing on creating an excellent public education system that will produce future leaders of Kentucky. On that note, following her presentation, we will also be hearing briefly from our two public school superintendents. Lieutenant Governor Coleman is no stranger to education. She began her teaching and coaching career in 2008, and most recently served as an assistant principal at Nelson County High School. In 2013, she founded Lead Kentucky, a nonprofit organization that has helped women attending Kentucky colleges become the next generation of leaders by helping them seek leadership positions on their campuses and across Kentucky. Since its inception, Lead Kentucky has empowered 50 campus ambassadors with 29 different majors on more than a dozen college campuses. Coleman earned her bachelor's degree in history from Centre College, where she played basketball, and her master's degree in political science from the University of Louisville. As if she doesn't already have enough to do, she is currently pursuing a doctorate in educational leadership at the University of Kentucky. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor Coleman.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. You would think that we would have these Zoom meetings down by now, but you never know. So thank you so much for having me today. And just like you said, this pandemic has caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of, I think, worry, but it's also created some opportunities because it's made us have to be more innovative and creative. And frankly, it's allowed me via Zoom to be with you this morning. And so I'm very happy to be back with you all, if only virtually. And I agree, I really hope that we are able to get together next year for this event. And hopefully this will all be behind us by then. So, but I want to again, thank you for having me today. And I'm glad that you have superintendents who are going to speak about returning to school. And my favorite part of this breakfast is the name, the Power in Partnerships, because I have said until I think I'm blue in the face that education is the foundation of economic development. And by bringing together our business community and leaders and our school community and leaders, we are ensuring a healthy, robust economy in the future of Kentucky. And I want to make sure that we continue that partnership and continue to work on those things together. So first, I want to talk a little bit about what school might look like in the coming weeks. I am a teacher. I'm a former teacher. My husband is a teacher. We have I have one bonus son who is going to be a senior in high school this year. We have one that is going to be a freshman in college this year. And we have a 5-month-old at home. So from pre-K, early childhood, all the way through higher education, my family is feeling the anxiety and trying to find our way, just like everyone else's is. Not to mention my husband is a teacher as well. So, we are looking at this from every angle because it's the angle from which we are going to have to operate over the next few months, just like all of the other school families are. So the first thing I want to talk about is our Healthy at School document that we have released and the guidelines that we've put out to support our public school system. When this pandemic hit, and we had to start to figure out how can we go back to school in the fall and what might that look like. Very quickly, I realized that we were not going to be able to control the circumstances around the virus and the way that it operates. And we are still learning so much between asymptomatic and symptomatic and testing and contact tracing. All of that stuff is still new to us. But what I did know that we could do was to alleviate barriers that exist in education so that our schools and our school leaders can meet our kids and our families where they are. So that began to be my focus and my work on working with the Department of Education to figure out how can we alleviate barriers, how can we remove the things that stand in our way from being able to serve our kids in the best way possible. Especially given that it is a global health pandemic and we don't know oftentimes from week to week what may be around the corner. And so Healthy at School was born, and we worked in conjunction with the Department of Education. We created an education continuation task force that gave their input on this. And that included everyone from superintendents to faculty and staff to legislators. Every stakeholder was represented in this group because we wanted to make sure that we thought about the school experience from every perspective, since it was going to be very, very different than what we had known before. We have worked to make sure that our districts have flexibility. That was the key for me personally, was to allow flexibility. As a teacher, sometimes you get frustrated at the lack of flexibility. And so there's no time like the present. And some people talk about how this is a crisis, and oftentimes you find opportunity in crisis. And so it's really an opportunity for us to think about how to do school differently. And as we discuss, what we go back to and what we see as normal, we also have to ask ourselves the question, what's worth going back to and what is worth changing in order to be able to move forward? And so those are questions that have kind of guided this process. And so as we work to give flexibility to our school districts, I thought about what school might look like for our kids. We might have some schools that are able to go back in person fully to classes. This was our thinking in the last spring. We might have some school districts who decide that they want to implement some sort of hybrid model, which might mean that some students are at school or on campus on some days and some come on other days, and the schedules change. And then some schools may decide what's best for us is to go fully digital. And so that's kind of the basis for us trying to remove these barriers is those options, making sure that our school districts had every option on the table. Our superintendents have done a phenomenal job of surveying their community, surveying their faculty and staff, the kids and families that are part of their school community, and basically saying to them, what will work for you? What can we do to meet your child's needs and to meet you where you are? And without that communication and without that open dialogue, this would be much harder, certainly than it has been. But I have to commend our school leaders for making sure that they include, parent, family, caregiver, student, faculty voice in the decisions that have been made. And this is no easy task. I have been on the 4 o'clock press conferences, or 5 o'clock for you all, press conferences with the governor. And I regularly ask that we extend grace to our school decision makers, because this is not something that can be taken lightly, or certainly is not something that will be easy. So as we looked at these different modes where people could go back to school, one thing was with the digital days, with the digital model. If your school district said, I surveyed the best thing for me to do is to make sure that our kids can start school digitally. We waived the cap on NTI days. So we extended an unlimited amount of non-traditional instruction days or digital days, basically, for our schools, so that our school leaders could say, we're going to start the school year digitally and we're going to reevaluate, every few weeks and see where we are as we move forward. We wanted to make sure that that barrier was lifted for them and that option was there. The next barrier that we removed was the average daily attendance requirement that is used for school funding. Our statutes for education are written as if every single student is in the building or every student is out of the building. For instance, with snow days would be a good example of that. And so our school funding is tied to our attendance. So if we only had certain kids in school some days and certain kids in school other days, that would impact our schools financially, and they would not be able to operate the way that we need them to. And so we removed that barrier and said that schools could use previous year's attendance as their mechanism for continuing to receive school funding, allowing them, if needed, to go to an AB schedule or some sort of modified hybrid schedule. And then we also made sure that for those school districts that decided that they were going to go back to some form of in-person, whether that's fully or hybrid model, one of the concerns became what is going to happen when someone tests positive for COVID-19, because that will happen. The way that this is widespread right now certainly means that none of us are immune to it. And so what we did was we took the emergency days that are extended to our staff. You typically get, like, I think some districts give 1 or 2 emergency days to their teachers and staff. And so what we did was we said, we're going to give school districts the opportunity to extend unlimited COVID-related emergency days for the purpose of quarantine. So if for some reason a teacher became exposed at school with all of the many students and families they would come in contact with, that they would be able to utilize those emergency days to quarantine without having to use their own sick days when they've come to school to do their job. And so that flexibility and that protection for our teachers and staff was really important to us too. We have engaged with our stakeholders from across the state, from early childhood through higher ed, and we're working really diligently to hear them and to extend flexibilities to them as we can. And so one example of that is I heard from a superintendent that they have a digital platform that they are going to utilize for distance learning, but they're not really sure how they can pull this off with some teachers in the building and some teachers out of the building. And so what we did was we created an opportunity for our school districts to use those online platforms in a way that instruction must be delivered by the certified teacher in that subject area, but facilitation and support of that online platform can be given by any teacher. So for example, I'm a social studies teacher by trade. So I may be teaching a government course to juniors, let's say in high school. And so while I'm the person who would deliver the instruction, walk them through all of those days that we normally have in class, if they need help with the platform, with getting through some of the modules that are online, other teachers can support them. And so we truly are trying to create a village in which we support those students in every way that we possibly can. One of the things that we've been excited to announce and make sure that schools are aware of is the expanded care program. And this is a partnership with the federal government where we are making sure that every student has not just educational support, but support for behavioral, physical and mental health services. And so there is a program, it's called Expanded Care, that is a 3-to-1 federal match. So for every dollar that a school puts in to a mental health professional, let's say a school nurse for physical health or behavioral health services, the federal government will kick in $3. And so that allows our schools to be able to provide those Medicaid eligible services that are outside of an IEP, which allows us to reach 75% more students than we are currently reaching. So at a time when we talk about the need for mental health services, and we want to make sure that students, when they are at home and they don't walk through the doors of the school building every day for us to put our eyes on them, they are still safe. And so that creates a great opportunity for our school districts as well. One of the questions that I get all the time is, how in the world are we going to be able to fund all of these things that we're going to have to do to keep kids safe and keep our faculty and staff safe? And to that, I said, that's a great question. And so what I did was I took the initiative to write a letter to every single state, to their top education official, and asked them to join me in requesting to the federal government that we get the funding for the services that we need for our kids. And I've had a great response from leaders across the country who are joining me in my request to our federal delegation in Kentucky, but also to the Federal Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. And I made the request that not only do we need another round of CARES funding for our state and our local budgets to keep us moving forward, but the primary focus of that is that a huge portion of our budget goes to education in Kentucky. And so by making sure that our state and our local governments have what they need to continue to function and support our communities, we are also making sure that our school districts have the same. And so in a time when we are asking students to be flexible, we are asking our parents and our families to be flexible, as well as our teachers and our staff. We also need to make sure that we're asking that our funding for education is flexible as well. If your school district decides that it is the best thing for them to go digital and do NTI days to start the year, then that school may need to be able to move more funds than normal into an area where they can use them for expanded broadband or for technology devices for our kids. And so they should be able to do that. If we have schools that go back in hybrid models or in person, what that might do is it might up the cost of transportation for that district because of bus routes. It certainly will up the cost and the need for cleaning supplies and PPE for our kids and our faculty and staff. And so again, when we are asking of our community to be flexible, we also need funding for our schools that remains flexible. And so all of this has been put into place here in Kentucky. We continue to lead the nation in our response, but also in our educational response by making sure that our superintendents, our principals, our teachers, our staff have the resources that they need to be successful. None of this is ideal. All of this is difficult, and it is certainly going to be difficult on our families as well as our school districts. We constantly think about, how are we going to adjust our schedules? How are we going to make this work? And what I would tell you is it takes a village. And so as our schools, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, as our schools continue to act as villages, to wrap our arms around our kids and to take care of them and to support the whole child, not just the academic support, but mental and behavioral and physical health services as well. It is going to be a community affair. We're going to have to pitch in together and help each other where we can. Our business community is going to be absolutely critical, as is our healthcare community, to making sure that we are able to move our students forward. And so with the dawn of every new school year, there's excitement, there's anxiety, there's newness. And I would say that more than ever is true in the coming weeks. And so if you are someone in a school district, or there's someone in your family who is, or you have a student, be there for them, support them, do the little things that can help make some day-to-day tasks that we might take for granted uh, easier for folks. Whether we're talking about childcare or whether we're talking about education and services that we provide, we truly are all in this together. I know you hear our governor say that every day, but we are in this together and we will get through this together. If there has ever been a time where we can acknowledge that we have probably taken for granted things like small businesses and public education and childcare services, it certainly is right now. And so the question I would pose to you in your region as members of this Commonwealth is, how can we do that better? How can we meet the needs of our community as we move forward? Because we truly are all in this together. And so as we think about how to do things differently, I would encourage you to think about how we can do things better. And as we continue to think outside the box, we become more dependent on communication and technology and things of that nature. How can we continue to support our communities and our families to make sure that our economy is robust and that we bounce back on the other side of this pandemic? And it is possible because education is the foundation of all of those things. And so we must start there to be able to continue along that continuum of support for our communities. And so I want to thank you all so much for having me today, for also considering the partnerships that do and should exist between all of the facets and sectors in our communities. You're truly leading the way in that conversation. And I look forward to the day that I can join you and continue on, and we can look back at this moment and think about how far we've come together. So thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Lieutenant Governor Coleman, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And getting some feedback. So thank you for everything that you do for our state, and thank you for being with us. And we're going to wrap up today with just a few comments from our two public school superintendents who have a great challenge ahead of them. And first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. We are socially distanced. If we get up, our masks are going on. And I know you all say that all the time, and we say it around here too. So thank you so much. Joining me today, I have Dr. Donald Shively, Superintendent of Paducah Public Schools, and Steve Carter, Superintendent of McCracken County Schools. Both of you are planning to open your schools on August 24th for students both in school and virtual. And I have adult children involved in your administration and 3 grandchildren in 3 different schools. So this is an important topic for everyone. I'm just going to begin with, why don't you tell us, what's it going to look like on August 24th when you open up? Dr. Shively, you're next to me. You want to go first?
Absolutely. I think the first and most important thing you're going to see is smiling faces. Whether that's virtually or at school, and we're providing both options, but adults that are there to help build relationships with your children, regardless whether it's virtual or in person, and with that, help them reach the vision they have for their life. Specifically, I think the question is at school, and so as those students that are choosing and families that are choosing to send their students to school, as you get on a bus, we're going to have a mask on. You're going to have a temperature check as you walk in the front door if you're getting dropped off, or if you're driving as a high school junior or senior. There's going to be a temperature check and a mask on. We're looking at right at about 50% capacity, those that are choosing to come to school versus those that are staying home. So you're going to see lots of space in classrooms and obviously hallways that are very open. Kids, as they move around the building, whether it's to class, to lunch, etc. If you're moving your mask in, the same thing with our teachers. With that, we've striven to ensure that in our classrooms, and we believe at this moment that we're going to be able to do that, is to have 6 foot between every student and every class, pretty much across through the whole district. So I think that's most of the answer to that question, but we're excited to see our students.
We've talked about, can you actually see a smile behind the mask? But you really can through their eyes. So, Mr. Carter?
And that's what I was going to say. You'll see a lot of smiling eyes over the next few weeks. We've begun, like everybody else or many districts across the state, with planning, finding ways to be creative that we can achieve social distancing so that our students do not have to wear a mask all day long. And that's been kind of a major concern. So, we're going to do everything possible. And we have a situation set up much like, Dr. Shively does, that we can obtain social distancing throughout our school days by using our gymnasiums, our cafeterias, and all the various spaces that we have very creatively and flexibly. And then on top of that, you'll see a lot of touchless thermometers. When students get on buses, we'll be adding staff to our buses to help alleviate that strain from our bus drivers and recording those. And we'll have unique pickup spots and drop-off spots within our school zones in order to isolate entry points and exit points of our buildings. And a major change that we have is we have modified some of our bell schedules and our buses to allow for separation of grade levels. So, this year, high school students will be on their own route, middle school students will be on their own route, and our elementary schools will be on their own route. So if there is a positive case, we can isolate that instead of being a widespread issue, so we can pinpoint and provide those services that are needed. Our family resource and 21st century programs will be very beneficial. There's going to be a lot of focus on social, emotional well-being. Many of our students may have not seen an educational adult since March 13th. So there's going to be a lot of caring, nurturing, probably some air high fives. It's going to be very difficult for a lot of our adults who are so passionate about their children not to go up and give them those hugs. And that becomes a challenge. When we talk about social, emotional for our students, it's our staff as well that we're trying to make sure we have avenues in place for them to share and again, celebrate getting back together and focus on the good things that are going to happen this year.
What are you expecting, Mr. Carter, on the return to classroom, and what's the breakdown that you have currently?
Right now, we're about 25% virtual, 75% requesting to return in person. But we're continually monitoring those numbers. Again, as data changes at the state level and within our county and our community, those numbers could shift. So, initially we started about 8% said that they wanted to go virtual, and over the last 2 months, that has expanded to 25%. And it varies from schools. So we might have one school that's about 21%, and we'll have 3 schools about 27%. But, the vast majority want to do everything they can to come back in person, and we're going to do everything we can to provide that safe learning environment and the excitement that they can get out of it.
Dr. Shively, I think you said in your comments.
I did, but specifically, we are right at 90% responses of in-person versus at home. And as of last night at about 10 o'clock, when I ran the numbers, we're 51% in person and 49% virtually learning.
Okay. What are some specific steps that you want to share that you've done to protect your students? Dr. Shively? We'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Specifically, and I would want to say it's not just students, it's adults, and we're an employer
Absolutely,
too.
yes.
So very specifically, there's 500 individuals in our district, and I know Mr. Carter has more than that in his district, but you're worried about or focused on how we're ensuring that we're healthy. And so very specifically, the protocols in the healthy at school documents that we've received from Kentucky Department of Education and communication with our local health department on exactly how we need to clean our buildings, how we need to sanitize that. The buses, I will have exactly who is responsible for every nook and cranny in every building down to which blade of grass, very specifically, and how that's going to be done, how often that's going to be done. And then I think we've got creative with our schedule too, in that we're going to go 6 weeks and have a release valve with fall break. 6 weeks. We'll do NTI for all children over Thanksgiving week. So students won't be at school. We'll go 3 weeks till Christmas break, 6 weeks, and we're just going to take a week off in February because it's flu season on top of a pandemic. 6 weeks to spring break, and then 6 weeks we're out. And so we feel like that gives the release valves, 1 for mental health, for our employees, 2 for our students. And then with that, as we go through that, constantly evaluating our cleaning process, just like Dr. Carter said, or not Dr. Carter, but Mr. Carter said. I just gave him another degree. With that, specifically how we're going to interact in the building is very specific. Our procedures we're going to teach are very specific as far as wearing the mask, being 6 foot away from each other, and then also how we will have every seat in every spot, whether it's lunch, whether it's first period or 7th period, whether it's on the bus, who's sitting where, who's around each other, and limiting the number of contacts that you are within 6 feet of each other.
Mr. Carter, you want to add anything about specific steps you've taken?
Yeah, we've gone to a universal cleaning system, a 4-point cleaning disinfecting system that we've trained all of our custodians on uniformly. We've always been a one-to-one district at our high school. We've expanded that down to elementary school. Through our middle school, 6 through 12, every student will have a Chromebook. And we've also put ourselves in a position to have the capacity to be one-to-one K-12 if that were to be needed. We've went out and we've partnered with Edgenuity, online educational software that can provide, in-depth coursework virtually if need be. And we made sure that for our secondary students that those courses meet the NCAA clearinghouse, so they do count towards college eligibility. And we've also went out and we've placed hand sanitizing stations at the doors of every classroom, and we've placed those on every bus. So, there's going to be a lot of promotion on just good personal hygiene as we move forward. We've also, provided, the next 2 weeks are going to be very heavy on training for our staff and just identifying, how can we balance both, virtual and in-person learning. And our schools have been very creative in their approaches to that. There's going to be some that are going to be dedicated strictly to their virtuals students. And we have some that are working to provide a virtual planning time specifically for meeting the needs of those students that are there. So again, there's a lot of creativity, a lot of flexibility, but there's going to be some good that comes out of this. And, we're excited about the opportunity to provide our students everybody. Well, one thing I forgot to mention, we've also provided every school will have 2 water bottle filling stations. So every one of our students that are coming back will be provided a water bottle, a reusable mask, and we've got mask lanyards for our elementary mask straps, because they had to have a quick release for our elementary students, and lanyards for our middle school students, because again, there's going to have to be a lot of positive reinforcement for this to become a kind of a standard, especially in the first part of the school year. So again, we think we've got a lot of physical supports as well as emotional supports in place for our students.
In about a 30-second wrap up, what do you want to share with the community? Dr. Shively?
First and foremost, we care about your children, and we want to make sure that they're successful, and we want to make sure we keep them in a healthy and safe environment. And so with that, lots of things that we can't even go into as far as the specifics, but that's our goal. But we're also, providing instruction at home, and there's a huge opportunity through our teachers. We say that our teachers will be videoing that or leading that live, and there's a huge opportunity when we come out of that to have that video library for anytime, anywhere learning, so that if you're a parent trying to help your child at night, you can watch us teaching from our specific Paducah Public Schools teachers. If you're a church, if you're an organization that's helping tutoring, that'll be there. We'll be able to do things differently in the classroom with what we're building out. So yes, there's stress. Yes, there's a challenge, but there's a tremendous opportunity to rethink how we deliver educational services for our children this year and going forward. So we're excited about that opportunity.
Steve Carter, what do you want to say as a wrap up?
We understand everybody is dealing with this differently, and much like the pandemic and the virus itself, we have to be fluid. We're going to be supportive of our community. We're going to be supportive of our families. We understand this is going to impact everyone differently and at different times. But our doors are open, and we're going to work collaboratively with our parents and our students to provide the best and safest learning environment and continue that standard of excellence that makes us McCracken proud.
Thank you all very much for joining us. We want you to know that we support you, that we're thinking of you. We appreciate you. We also appreciate St. Mary and Community Christian Academy, who are also part of our chamber. But today we were featuring on our public education. But we know it's taken a lot of work and effort. And so we appreciate the administration, the teachers, the staff, and the students. And we're going to get through this. And so thank you all very much for joining us today. And I want to say thank you to our audience for joining us today. We have a lot of great events coming up. Join us on August 20th for our Small Business Celebration kickoff. And then again, we'll be back here on September 3rd with Senator Rand Paul as our as our speaker, sponsored by Whitlow, Roberts, Houston, and Straub. So we do have a couple of door prize drawings. Shulorn Jeter, Shulorn, she's one of our door prize winners. Dustin Bell, and Shulorn is with eXp Realty. Dustin Bell, he's with Swift and Staley. We have one more, and we'll be getting these to you. Ashley Britton with Mercy Health, and those 3 are provided door prizes by Mercy Health. Thank you to Mercy Health. Lourdes for being our sponsor today for our August Power and Partnership Breakfast. We appreciate your partnerships very, very much. And congratulations again to Leadership Paducah Class 33 for raising over $112,000, I think $112,751, to put children in their own beds. And I bet you guys will see the benefits of that from your school systems. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you again soon.